that's me beating Dave with 9-3.
Hey.
It was suited. It was suited.
Really? Start out that way?
Apparently. So I'm on the board for North Bank, and we have this motley crew of folks that are kind of crazy and really want to see this community thrive. And economics is a big part of that, and business has to be a part of that conversation. So we've got some wonderful sponsors. We'd also like to thank that believed in us early, right? Backed us early. So shout out to our bank, Fed. Perkins has been awesome. The VIC has, we're in the VIC space right now. Macro Law, 515 Engine. So just to name a few. So we have wonderful sponsors, but you can see there's still a little white space over here. Okay. So you too, for the grand prize up. No. But seriously, talk to us if you believe in the work we're doing, you like the workshops, you like the stuff we're doing, and we've got a lot more to come. We've got a lot of really cool stuff on the horizon, but it needs engagement, it needs dollars, and it needs crazy people like us that are willing to kind of step in and say, I can do that, I can help with that. So yeah, please talk with Dave, talk with me, talk with C3, who's not here today, about how you can help. There's lots of opportunities to do that. So, yeah. So, we have our goal with North Bank is really just to be that hub, that resource that Clark County has been missing and that Southwest Washington has been missing around startups, tech, deep tech, software, and other companies that have the ability to kind of scale and grow and create jobs and economic mobility and opportunity here where we all live, work, and play. So I think the next one's about David. Is this David? And that's him after he folded to me with my 9-3 suited. Suited adds 2% to the probability that I kick Dave's ass. So he is our executive director. He's our chief lunatic. We are... At 3 a.m., I'm usually texting him, "Hey, why are you still up?" And he's like, "Why are you responding?" And so it's I don't know. In that way, it's not a very healthy relationship. No. Like it is like. So, anyways, for sure. So we're both crazy and passionate and work way too much, and it is our love language. So, with that, should we start?
Awesome.
Okay.
Guys, again, this started really in earnest about April of last year. We pulled together about 50 people and said, this is time. I've been doing events for a really long time, been community connector and all this. And April of last year, we pulled people together and said, no, this is the year. We got to make it happen. And, the way things lined up has just been amazing. The VIC welcomed us with open arms and said, wait, innovation's in your name, innovation's in our name. What are we doing? Let's go. And so they gave us a space and have been making this happen. So, it's really exciting, really exciting. I always want to know about you guys, because I'm tired of talking about me. What you guys are doing is the reason that we do this. So I want to take anybody that wants to kind of raise their hand, tell me the project that they're working on or what their startup is. I want to give you a chance. We'll get you. Or maybe a roadblock. Yeah, that's actually something we got going on before or later. I'll say a little bit more. Yeah, that's called voluntold. Right there, just stand up there. It's good. Anywhere here is fine.
My name is Matt Schneider. Company is called Threat Insights. My first product that I'm working on is email abuse network. Be producing threat intelligence data for email, malware, viruses, scams, like that type of thing. So, yeah, hopefully be ready soon to go on the market.
How many decades have you been in this?
About 25 years of experience. I've had a long time helping another company get started and succeed, and then, all good deeds go. Was it all good deeds go unpunished? Or yeah. So here I am.
What do you need, and what can the community help you with?
Still working on the code and the data and all that. So,
You want to shine your office over here.
yeah, this is a nice. Yeah, once I'm able to start hiring employees and stuff, I mean, yeah, this would be a great, welcoming kind of space to be able to, actually see people during the day and find out what they're up to and how you can, coordinate, kind of help each other.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks so much. I don't know if I need this, but anyway, my name is Robert Pudlick. My background is in product management. I've been doing that for over 25 years, so like most of my career. Most recently worked at Home Depot corporate for about 8 years. So I've gotten together recently with some ex-colleagues of mine from Home Depot, and we're exploring, we're very early, we're exploring some opportunities in the construction and builder space. And the problem that we're really circling around is that, especially for like small to medium-sized construction businesses, they spend too much of their day dealing with things that are not core to their job. So they want to be designing and they want to be building and they want to be sourcing new work. Instead, they're having to spend a lot of time on invoicing, reaching out to customers, chasing them down for payments, HR type stuff, and it's really frustrating for them. So what we're looking at is, there are a lot of traditional sort of project management applications out there that are specific for construction. We're seeing to what extent we can sort of abstract away that and just say, look, you're on the job all day, you have your phone. To what extent can you sort of give information? Let's say that in the back office instead you have some specialized AI agents that are handling invoicing, estimating, invoicing. And you could just communicate with them all day through your phone and send them texts, voice messages, images, whatever. And it would sort of help you deal with all this stuff so that you're not spending either 2 or 3 hours in the morning or in the evening dealing with all this stuff. So it's sort of like, what's just now possible from a technology standpoint that we can now apply to the construction space. So anyway, that's what we're up to.
Cool.
Well, I would say if any of you know of any people that are builders, that are GCs, that work in the space where we could get in touch with them and sort of use to co-create or validate this idea with them, I would be all ears. If you have any, so we'll chat, you too. So would love to, yeah. So, thanks very much.
Yeah.
Hey, my name is Jeff. I have 2 projects. One is a small consumer packaged good company where we make candied pecans. They're delicious and lovely, and we make them right here. We're really all about brand development, brand testing right now. So if anybody knows office managers or people who run like corporate kitchens, I'd love to pick their brain. The other project it's an app, and I'm going to stop and say that it's for like mid-career professionals, people who've changed jobs a few times, people who've moved, people who are about to graduate from something. And the reason I'm going to stop there is because I would love to talk to some people in this room and do some user testing. And I don't want to anchor my interview results too much. So if you've got some time over the next couple weeks and want to jump on a Zoom, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks.
Anybody else? They're really good. They're really good. I can bring a bunch next time. Yeah. Cool. Guys, this is why we do it. There's some big trends that AI is just ripping up the floorboards of the way we've done everything, right? We've been talking about it for a long time. The idea that voice is becoming our new interface and things is just changing everything. So part of what we're doing is just connecting, because I think what's going to happen ultimately is we're not going to get these moonshot companies that are going to be $100 million that investors are trying to get in early on. You're going to get smaller companies that spin up 2, 5, 10 million, produce enough revenue for a solo founder or small team, And I think it's going to happen out of these rooms, right? Because everybody, it's so individualistic anymore, the way AI is working with us. So I love it and just want to kind of keep that conversation going. So we decided that we wanted to really kind of talk about founder skills in quarter 1, right? The idea that if you've met founders that have gone through something, they just have a little bit of something different. They've curated and cultivated a bit. And one of the things that we always talk about is, getting out of your own way and being coachable. It's really hard, right? We ask as a founder, we ask you to be insistent on the fact that yours is so good. And so it feels like it's soft to say to say that you don't have the right answer, that you're less than, that you're vulnerable, right? All that kind of stuff. It's a very weird balance. And I always like to talk about the books that I've seen that are kind of seminal inside of this. Ryan Holiday wrote this book, Ego is the Enemy. And it's really, really all about this. It's about this healthy ego, which is this confidence that we have, but not getting the arrogance inside, in your way. So it's a really, really good book. Nobody ever says, oh yeah, I have a problem with my ego. But if you do, it's an amazing book. Yeah, what happened? So we try and make a commitment to doing 4 events a month. We've got some repeating ones. We've been doing open co-working every Wednesday this month in March. We've been having open co-working in the Commons. It's been great. It's been great. There's probably 10, 15 people that show up and get to collaborate with projects that they've got going on, or just pop up and have a good place to, sit with the cafe.
Fellowship. There's been I've seen a lot of good conversations and fellowship come from this random engagement.
Yep. Yeah, I think, what do we say? Working from home is great until it's not. I get tired of talking to my cat every once in a while, Yeah, the cat doesn't like me, doesn't care. But we're going to finish out March. But in April, we want to do something different. Most of our stuff's been during the day. We're going to move and put an evening event on here called the Solution Sessions, and it's about blockage, right? It's about when you're stuck, and that could be a startup, and it could be enterprise, right? Enterprise is really grappling. I've talked to probably 6 or 7 companies in the last month that are sitting there going, I know we have a ton of data. I know AI is supposed to be really the way we can do it, but they have, disparate little skilled pockets of people working on anything. They don't know how to bring it in together into an initiative or move ahead with it. And so what we want to do is we want to open this up to people that are, we'll have AI, we call them experts anymore, on the forefront, right? People that are building models, people that are really working heavily with the new models, kind of pushing its bound. But we'll come in and we'll do like a hot seat, right? What's your problem? What are you trying to get done? What do you need to fix? And then we'll break out and it'll be work sessions. So it really is kind of a work party. But so we want to try it. I think, I've heard a lot of really, really interesting challenges and things, and I think this is going to be a way we can lean in. So, you didn't come to hear me talk. Jason has been entrepreneur since I've been in town. Well, maybe not so much, but you've been visible, and Revant has just been, I think, a great success in town, and I know you've been tied to some of the legislature, trying to work with the city of Portland that's going on and trying to get them to unleash or get them unstuck a little bit. So I'm just really excited to hear a little bit more about Jason and what he's built with Revant. So come on up.
Set the mood. All right. Well, thank you all for coming out. Happy St. Patty's Day. Clearly celebrate. So yeah, Dave, thanks for setting this up, hounding me on LinkedIn. I'm actually, I'll start with the beginning. I grew up just outside of Seattle in Redmond, Washington. Worked as a bailiff at the Superior Court for 3.5 years after undergrad. Oh, this has jumped ahead quite a bit.
Looked like it was advancing.
Oh no, my AI is taking over. Okay. Met my wife on the Obama campaign right after working as a bailiff in '08. And we decided, let's get out of town, get out of Seattle. Let's go try new career. We want to get out of politics. Really happy we did that. And ended up in Eugene for a post-baccalaureate pre-med program. Both of us joined. It was one of the only post-baccalaureate pre-med programs in the country. I went for a year, got into OChem, and was like, no, this is not for me. My wife finished, got into OHSU. But during a summer in Eugene, how many people have been down to Eugene at all? Okay. Anyone go to school down there? Anyone a duck? No? Okay, that's fine. I won't do a go ducks then. Well, Eugene empties out in the summer. And being from Seattle, I was kind of bored, to be honest, down in Eugene, just waiting, and got into mountain biking, started to love it, and also had about $40,000 in student debt from the out-of-state tuition. It's like, well, I need to learn how to make some money while I'm here at school. So the idea for my business really came from a problem I had, which are the best ideas. I'd mountain bike. I loved Oakley at the time, still do, but loved them even more back then. And so I'd buy these like $200 to $300 frames and inevitably scratch the lens in my sunglasses. And how many people here have scratched a lens, damaged a lens, needed a new prescription? Basically everyone. That's every room I go into. So that's our target market. And after, I think, the third pair, I'd scratch them, I'd go into Sunglass Hut, be like, can I get a lens? It's like, no, you have to buy a new pair. We don't offer lenses. I started researching how lenses were made. And so I'm going to jump around here a little bit. I found out about 6 million pairs of eyewear, this number's larger now that tech's getting into the field, are thrown away each year just because of damaged lenses. And that's a massive amount of waste, right? We talk about hundreds of millions of dollars in material. You'll hear me speak a lot today about material, because the material has inherent value. It's just molded into different shapes to make it useful to consumers. So huge amount of material waste, huge amount of dollars wasted, and I'll talk a little bit too about this right to repair movement. Have anyone here heard about that? So the Northwest in particular is leading the charge, Oregon, Washington to a degree, on consumers' right to repair. And I will set the table here a little bit on these terms and what I'm talking about, because you'll hear more about it as I go through the business model. The concept is essentially, if you buy something and you own it, you should be able to repair it and use it as long as you want. And if a company doesn't make replacement parts for that product, then they have to allow for other companies, as long as the product or piece isn't under patent, to create aftermarket replacement parts. Sometimes even if they do make replacement products, they have to allow for that. This is incredibly beneficial to the general population. It's not beneficial to corporations. So I just want to frame that up, because it's one of the things I'm most passionate about, and I will fight for until I die, until I leave this planet, is our ability to repair product. The other thing I want to tie it to here is sustainability, renewability. I'm a huge outdoorsman. I hunt, I fish, I bike. So I kind of cross. I believe in sustainability. I also hunt. So I'm a little bit of an anomaly here, but I think there are a lot more people like that than we know about. And I actually tie consumer product, technology, building business to the idea that we should be protecting the environment. So we should be lessening the harm we do with the products we create. The technologies we create need to live in more harmony with the environments we live in. And I'm just talking about the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat. It's all connected. So entrepreneurs of the future, I think, need to focus on not just profit, but planet and people. The 3 Ps is what I call it. Now, going back to my startup phase here, down in Eugene, scratched my lenses, was really frustrated, and went on to, I had this idea, well, I wonder if I can just buy replacement lenses from Alibaba. Anyone ever been to Alibaba.com? It's like source anything you want. So I went on there and typed in sunglasses, and then I found a few factories that make sunglasses that look like Oakley's, and I wrote to them and said, hey, can I just buy lenses from you that will fit my Oakley's perfectly? And I had about 30 people respond over the course of about a month, narrowed it down to 5 that I knew were factories, not just middlemen, over in Asia, 2 in Japan, 3 in China, and ended up going to China on my credit card, took out more debt, flew over there. Yeah, it was bad. Really white knuckled for a while there, and ended up staying there for a little over a month, touring factories, getting to know the process of how lenses were made. This is another thing I like to say, if you're not curious and you're risk averse, generally entrepreneurship is probably not the course to take. And so being over there, it just really opened my eyes to how products made. Has anyone been over to China or been into a factory? If you ever get the opportunity, go. Even if it's like you get to go for a week, to see how like the millions upon millions of products we use are made is a life-changing experience. We're talking about factories that are 4 times the size of Costco with thousands of people making thousands of products day in and day out. And so I went to eyewear factories. I worked on the production line for lenses. One of the things I like there is everyone takes a nap at noon. So I ended up on my desk sleeping with everyone, like thousands of people next to me after we had our noodles. And through that, gained an appreciation for the product itself. Just it takes 16 individuals to create one lens and about $3 million worth of machinery for just a set of lenses. And a set of lenses is about 3 ounces of plastic. So talking about these guys, about the same as your water bottle. You can get one of these now, I don't know, $3. These frames are about, well, these are ours, but from Oakley, they'd be about $200. And so the material, same amount of material, it's the processing that I figured out at that point that was the big investment. Decided on a factory to work with from that trip, came home with a duffel bag full of lenses, or actually 2 duffel bags, about 200 pairs of lenses for my Oakley frog skins. Flew into New York and was immediately put into customs hold and held there for 4 hours. Because I didn't know you had to actually import product and pay like duties, taxes, all that. You can't just walk through with 200 pairs of lenses. So at that time, I kind of claimed ignorance because I was, and the customs and duty agent finally said, all right, fine, we're gonna let you go this time. You do it again, we're gonna confiscate everything. So I'm gonna highlight some stories at the beginning where I was like, oh, it's done, I'm over. I just spent all the money I don't have on samples that I'm gonna lose here in New York because I didn't import them correctly. He let me go. I came back to Eugene. I had on the side been selling some things on eBay. That was kind of the hot e-commerce site back in the day. So I knew how to list product. I photographed the lenses. I went to a local craft store down there, purchased some boxes, printed out what I thought were really cool labels with my logo, and then put the lenses up on eBay. That was a Friday. My buddy and I jumped in my car. We're like, let's road trip down to San Francisco. And so we took off. The next day I checked my eBay account and all 200 had sold. So I was like, oh, we got to drive back. He wasn't happy, but I told him I'd buy him a plane ticket and we could go back down eventually. But he came back up with me. He's a longtime friend of mine. We're still close. He was my neighbor growing up. And he sat around my table in my apartment and helped me package up all the lenses and ship them out. And that was really proof of concept of the business model, was just getting lenses up on eBay. That money, I sold those lenses for about $50 to $60 per pair. So, I had more money than I had ever. And I took that and rolled it back into buying more lenses, more frames. I don't even know is Skype still used? That was the tech. Ironic, isn't it? We're now all on video calls, no one uses Skype. But Skype back then for me was a way for me to communicate with my suppliers. So my days became, still in class at the time, I would wake up in the morning at about 6, package up lenses that had sold on eBay, print out shipping labels. My apartment was a crazy place. I bought these shelves at Costco, put them up in my living room and my bedroom, and just carried inventory in there. And then I would ship those out in the morning, go to class, come home, answer customer service questions, then get on Skype at about 10 to 11 p.m. and work with my suppliers till about 1, go to bed and do it again. And I did that for 6 months before I dropped out of college. It's like, I can't sustain this. And I had a great mentor at the time, this guy that founded a company or a brand called Evo. They do like action sports retail all over the world now. And he just said, you know, you can always go back to school, but if you have a business idea with traction, just move into it and go. You know, you got to kind of balance that depending on where you're at in life and who you need to support, you know, responsibilities you have. But at the time, I had nothing to lose, so I jumped right in. Let's see, I'm going to try and stay on here. So the idea at the beginning was replacement lenses, aftermarket. Wanted to make sure they were high quality because we're replacing lenses in Oakley's, and Oakley is known for very high quality optics, expensive frames. So these lenses needed to fit perfectly. The optics needed to be perfect. The tints, the mirror coatings, all of that needed to be worthy of being in an Oakley frame from the consumer standpoint. So I spent a lot of time with our factory dialing in all of those things, and with my optometrist, Jennifer, MD. She was great. I would bring in lenses, make sure they tested well and weren't going to make people go blind. You know, lenses are actually regulated by the FDA. They're considered a medical device, which I didn't know until I had to pay the FDA. But all of those things, those different variables, I learned along the way and learned as I went. And really, you know, it grew organically. So one thing that really helped me, I was able to bootstrap the whole thing, pour earnings back into the business. I didn't need to raise money. One, because I was living very frugally. Two, I was selling direct to consumer before that was cool through eBay, but still. And then three, it was a high margin product. Eyewear is second, or was second only to, I think it was perfume at the time in terms of margin you can make. And so I was able to generate cash very quickly, pour it back into the business, and just continue to list on eBay. And my marketing as a percentage of revenue was less than 1% for the first 3 years. Yeah, there you go. So to reach the customer was not difficult because there was a massive void there. People were actually actively looking online for lenses, which I was kind of surprised by. Yeah.
How did you price those first ones when you were kind of creating the category?
Yeah, I said, well, I have to make it less than a third of what you'd pay for a new frame, essentially. I said, if I keep it below a third, I find that conversion, before I knew what conversion was, stays high enough that, you know, I'm turning the product basically every week at that time. So I'd price against like Oakley. If they're charging $300, I'd keep it below 100, and usually even below that. And right now we have dynamic, like we're getting real-time pricing info from every brand and every competitor. So we can kind of triangulate based on our brand value, what they're charging, you know, the willingness to pay.
Yeah.
So it's changed from me just combing the website to that.
How long? Yeah.
So we've sold 3.4 million pairs of lenses since then, which is still mind-blowing to me. I'm fast-forwarding, obviously, but going from my apartment to, you know, I'd ship product out, and then we moved up here from Eugene. I actually lived in Fisher's Landing, so my first apartment up here was over at Slate Ridge. For tax purposes, my accountant said, live here, don't live in Portland. But learn to love the area and Vancouver and all that, so it's great to be back. This is actually one of the first times I've been back in this area. But yeah, I lived up in that apartment, and then 2017 decided, based on a number of factors, that in order to scale this and grow, we needed to start manufacturing here. Sounds crazy, and it is.
Say that one time.
But inventory carrying costs were a big driver. So when you think about, there's hundreds of thousands of different frame styles on the market. I wanted us to become the resource for replacement lenses at the time, online, direct to consumer. So I wanted a massive catalog, and I was watching what Amazon was doing, right? It's like, well, they want to control the market and have the best offering. It's a variety of books at the time, and then a value on those books and efficiency to deliver. So that's what I really focused on. In order for us to do that, it became quickly apparent that we needed to broaden our SKU set without spending hundreds of millions on inventory. And the way we did that is we purchased machinery. They're basically CNC routers. They're called lens edging
and what do you
machines.
think, how much do they work
And
in
you
an
can
hour?
use what's called a lens blank. So the big unlock for me too on this, I actually learned back when I was at the factory, every lens or almost every lens in sunglasses is
So,
cut from one of two
cremation,
different blank curvatures. So when you
yeah,
buy a
and we're not
lens
gonna do a
blank, it's
service or
like this
anything like
size,
that.
piece of plastic. You can
We'll
put
do
different
something
coatings
small at
on
the
it, a
family's
tint. I
house.
should have brought one.
Since Dorothy can't really, she's
And then
not
the
mobile,
curvature
we
is
won't do
based on how high
anything
wrap the
like that.
sunglass
And their
is. So you
circle
see
is
those
pretty
like
small, like,
agro
when
cyclists
you're
with the
90,
high wrap
94,
frames that are
there's not many
aerodynamic.
people left
Those
to
you get
come
up to
for
like a
that kind of stuff.
13 base curve, so they'll hug your face basically. And that's to protect you from wind and debris and maybe make you faster. I don't think so, but
No.
they like to look fast too, the
Oh, he
Spandex.
does.
What's that? It is, you know,
We hit, that is not
tenth
what
of a
we
second
talked
faster
about
across the
with
line with
Dorothy.
these frames.
Is there-
And
is
then
there
you
a part
have
for
sort
her
of the
to end?
normal
Is that
style side. This is more of a high wrap. This is more like your lifestyle flat, and those are 4 base curve. 0 is like this. That was kind of popular for a while with fashion, where you just have like a flat piece of plastic with a mirror on it.
Okay,
And
what
then
if-
13
what
is
if-
high
'cause
wrap. So out of
when I spoke with her
basically
on the
4
phone
and 6 base
yesterday,
curves, you can cut
they
lenses on
wanted
these
to just come
machines for
home and learn
90%
and-
of the frames on the market.
So
So it's a standardized
can
product
that
that
be
fits
resold?
into
Can
different
that-
brands' frames. Oakley, Smith, Ray-Ban, they all use the same base curves. So found out if we buy these machines, we can cut product on demand for 90% of the frames out there. It was a pretty big capital investment up front, especially because we were running off of our own cash flow, but we were able to amortize that over time, get a machine down in Portland here and lease 800 square feet of space to run this machine.
Okay.
Let's see, that was 2017. So we ended up, I hired my college roommate at the time to help me run this thing. Woefully underqualified, but knew how to learn and do things quickly. So we learned how to set this machine up. I did hire an advisor as well, former Oakley head of innovation and operations, and just made that connection through LinkedIn. And I am very bold about asking people. You always got to compliment people first. It's a little feedback sandwich. So go out there, hey, I'm really impressed with your career, what you've done. I found people that had retired from brands that I aspired to be, reached out to them. I really want to learn from you, right? I really want to understand how you did what you did. It's impressive. Here's what I'm doing. Would you be willing to give me some of your time? And I would say over 50% of the time, you will get people to respond. It may take a while, and you have to be a little more persistent. One thing I did with this guy is I said, hey, I'm going to be down in LA at the middle of March. Do you mind if we meet up for coffee? That's where he lived. He said, oh yeah, sure, I'd love to. Here's my favorite spot. Then I bought my ticket to LA. Works very, very well to say you're going to be in an area if you really want to download some information from people. And I'll just say now, especially because people don't really get out and come out, so thanks again for doing this. If you're willing to show up somewhere, you're going to have a much deeper bond with someone. And some of those relationships I formed 13, 14, 15 years ago, they helped guide me through where we're at now and continue to provide me advice because I showed up, because I invested in them first. So he helped me with the production line. We set it up in Southeast Portland. We traced a bunch of frames, so we buy thousands of frames every single year. We have a huge, huge frame vault. And the reason we do that is we don't just buy one frame or one set of lenses, trace it, create a 3D file, and then start cutting. We actually have to have 3 to 5 of each frame we sell lenses for, just to make sure our tolerances are tight enough. We're talking about millimeters of, you cannot have gaps in your lenses in your frame. So it's a very high tolerance process. And in order to create the lens, we have to trace the frame with this very advanced piece of machinery. Then we photograph the lens and bring those two things together, create CAD files for every single frame out there. And then we do test cuts on our machines, and after validation, we'll upload them to our website. So that was a whole 6-month process when we got our own machine. And then we launched about 5,000 new products on a Monday. And yeah, entrepreneurial spirit. By Wednesday, our revenue had shot up 40%. And when you're in your small business, when you're a big business, that's a lot. But when you're just, a few guys running a shop, trying to run your own machinery, that was massive. And we were very excited because one, we were making product here. We knew we could make profit on that, and the consumer demand was real, and we were getting really strong feedback that the fact that we were making product here was very resonant with our customer. That optimism and excitement lasted for about 2 weeks. Because we quickly got outrun. And when you're making your own product, if you can't keep up and you try and speed things up, quality diminishes, right? You can either have quantity or quality, and that's very true. When you scale or when you try and grow, you have to be very intentional about how you grow to maintain and manage quality. So we were running that production line 24/7. It was insane. We would take different shifts. I was hiring friends to come in and run just to keep up with order volume. And at one point we had 4,000 orders in the backlog, and we decided to pull the plug. I know, it's crazy. We took down all of the products we had listed that were made on that machine and completely reset, because we also saw our return rate was starting to spike. So the tolerances were going what's called out of tolerance, so lenses weren't fitting as well. And we were keeping track of return rate on product coming from Asia, pre-cut product, as well as product we were making here. And we could see this massive delta starting to build. And so early on, quality, customer service, these things that are core to brand, kept resonating. And so I sacrificed quite a bit of revenue to get those things right on product we were making here. So we shut down that entire line for 6 months. We brought in OMEP, which is a local nonprofit that helps with manufacturing, and said, what are we doing wrong? And they said, everything. There's a picture. I should have brought a picture up here. Sorry, I'm going off deck, but this is what I do sometimes. So we had gone through 15 compressors. Our airlines were full of water. If you're in manufacturing at all, you're probably cringing right now. And so we had to do a complete reset. We actually even moved buildings. So we signed an agreement to take over a 20,000 square foot building on the Central East Side that was an old furniture building, renovated the whole thing, updated it. This is also a theme. I like to restore things. And made it a state-of-the-art lens manufacturing line, because we had people that knew what they were doing to build a lens manufacturing line. When we restarted, we had a whole new manufacturing team in place, quality team. We spent about $250,000 on quality machinery for testing and making sure we stayed in tolerances. And then we relaunched. And through this whole time, this is 2018, 2019, it was terrifying because it's a huge outlay of cash. We had no investors, and we just kept building and building with the idea that there is a market there based on previous sales. Yeah, do you have a question?
How did you navigate that pause with customers?
Yeah.
We can catch up. We're gonna break when he's done, and we can catch up on questions after.
Yeah. So yeah, save your questions. I love questions, so please write them down. We'll do a Q&A. I do want to get through this. So lots of lenses out there. We shut down. We did have to communicate to everyone. Here's what we're doing. Here's why. I'm very transparent, sometimes to a fault, with my team and customers. But I've found throughout the history of the company, the more transparent you are, the more trust you build, and brand is trust. And so for us, it's worked really well, even though there are multiple iterations here of the business where we've taken financial hits. Back to customers and why trust is so important. We build our brand around our customers. Our average order value is only about $65, but we do a very high volume. We'll do, in lenses alone, we'll do $20 million and $65 million orders this year. That's a lot of orders. So it's high volume, and every single product that goes out is going to a customer that's like, does this fit? Does it look good? Do I like it better or just as good as my old lenses? We want them to come back for life. And we're building out, here's the big picture, an ecosystem of vision product, not just lenses. Lenses was kind of the back door into a very saturated industry that answers any problem you have through our product and our services just from a visual standpoint. So if you need a new prescription, we're going to have tech coming out, or we're partnering with a brand where they can measure your prescription through your camera on your laptop, your phone. You no longer need to go into your a vision care provider, then we can take you to the right page for the lenses you need based on eye color, activity, the frames that will fit your face best, because I know there's a lot of tech people here. So we're using technology to solve a lot of customer problems that you couldn't do in a physical space necessarily, and democratizing access to vision product. So there's a lot of people that can't get like prescription lenses right now because they live in rural areas where they can't go to their optometrist or they don't have the right insurance. You'll be able to get that through our website in the next probably 12 to 18 months. So things like that are at the forefront of how we think about our customer. This is who our customer is, and there's demographic information. Everyone knows how to get this stuff: age, sex, where you live, what you do. I like to also highlight psychographic. If you haven't heard of that, that's where you really get to know your customer. So I can go hang out. There's probably like, I don't know, quite a few people in here that would qualify as our customers. I could hang out with each of you, and I do this, so if you ever want to hang out, let me know, for a day or two, get to know you. How do you use your eyewear? When do you put it on? Why did you choose the frame you did? Those look great, by the way. You know, a lot of people in here have great frames, and they're very intentional about the shape they chose or the material, because it's a reflection of your personality. So we've learned that over time. Like when you wear something on your face, it says something about you, right? And most of our customers have 5 to 8 pairs of frames, right? Yeah. And when you're wearing a prescription frame, you're paying upwards of $800 to $1,000 sometimes. So that's a high value product. We get to know them. We built these profiles over time, and we update these every year. So we have, right now we actually have 6 different personas. And we can, depending on the product we're developing or the service, told you about that tech where we're going to be able to measure prescription through a camera. This might be important to this persona, but not as important as it is to your everyday sort of urban persona. So we'll kind of rank them depending on what we're developing, and then we interview those customers. We go spend time with them, we product test with them, and that has helped us develop the best product for that persona or that person, and that's why we're able to innovate pretty rapidly here. Through this. So our 3 uniques, this is a shot of our retail shop. We can now have customers come in, and we offer the best quality product. You can say that confidently now, so you can measure our lenses against any other. And we have been able to develop lenses that are more durable, optically better. When you measure the optics, we use it's called decentration, so it's thicker in the middle, then it tapers out to the sides. Even if you don't have a prescription, what that does is it makes light bend less as it's going through the lens, so objects are actually more accurately placed in your vision. Getting pretty technical, but those types of things really matter, especially when you're talking about athletes that have to watch 100-mile-an-hour fastballs coming their way. Any movement is a problem. But also, average person, weekend warrior, if you want to go out and use a high-quality lens, you can. Best customer experience, we have a whole team that's actually the nucleus of the brand, the customer experience team. And we have a leader of that team. And their whole job is to look across the brand, across data, qualitative, quantitative inputs, and decide where we focus our time and energy. Usually that's the CEO. I wanted to outsource that. So I work with that team, and they provide me with reports saying, hey, the biggest problem here is actually this product getting returned at this rate for this reason. I think we should slow down developing new and really hone in on doing this better. Here's why. They make a pitch. Sometimes I say yes, sometimes we have other priorities. But for me, that is incredibly important because I'm a new product guy, so I will always lean into doing new unless someone slows me down and says, we actually have to focus internal and fix this. So for me, I set that up as a little bit of a hurdle for me to jump over before I keep spending our money, making sure that we're doing things right. And there's a lot of instances throughout the history of the company where that's helped. Then the sustainability aspect, reduce, reuse, recycle. We all heard that probably in 3rd grade. Reduce is number 1 because it is prioritized that way, and it means reducing the amount of product you throw away and reducing the amount of product you use. And the way you do that is by repairing your product or optimizing it for the environment you're in. So our brand is inherently more sustainable. Now we're starting to use product made of 60 to 70% recycled polycarbonate, still optically the best, but we pull it from microprocessor chips. All the e-waste that's been sent over to China and Taiwan is now in our lenses. And then our frames, we did launch eyewear in June of last year, are made of, it's called a bioplastic. So it's about 70% castor bean oil, which is actually more heat resistant than fossil fuel plastic. So we're marching down this road, more product. We have more product in the works that's sustainable as well. Customer support, we actually use humans that are paired with AI. So we have, that's so funny, 90,000 was clearly edited. There's some in here. I sent this to our junior graphic designer. I was like, we have to update the numbers because some of them are old. Need to give them a little feedback here. And this is kind of hard to see, but it's important too. Does anyone know what Net Promoter Score is? NPS? Can someone give me a quick synopsis? How about hat in the back?
We use this. It's something to the extent of like if you 1 through 10, anything above 7 is good or 6 is good, something like that.
Yeah. Generally, well, it'll go. So there's different ranges. The one we use is 0 is like, all right, you're just average, very average. -100 is you're like, I don't want to call any companies out here, but maybe you're a cell phone company, you know, like you're in the store and it's just terrible. You don't want to be there. And then +100 is you're the best company on the planet. Like no one achieves 100. Yes. So it's.
Would you recommend this?
Yep. And it's industry and consumer products and others. It's sort of been defined as the de facto measurement of brand with your consumers, because you generally won't tell someone about a product or a brand or a service or a person unless you're really confident, someone you trust. So it'd be someone like a brand you'd recommend to friends or family, and then you rate it on that scale. So we measure. Yes. Yeah. So it's a good way just to get a temperature check on how well you're doing with your customer, and you can measure NPS across just the transaction, so your website, your product. We want to make sure that we are beating the industry incumbents. So Oakley was at a 20, Ray-Ban's at a 34, we're at a 68. I think we actually just measured this morning. I get reports, and we're at a 72. So we keep climbing. Thank you, that is actually the thing I'm most proud of, other than the team we built. That right there tells me we're on the right track. And even if we have another issue with production, we need to shut down, like this is what tells me when we rebuild, the customers will be there. And we see this grow actually when we make decisions like shutting down. Because we say, hey, we're doing this for you. It's not for us. Here's why. All right, come back online and we have that loyalty. So, great quality, mentioned this, I won't go in too deep. The manufacturing, this is kind of fun to show. So this was 2016 when we were importing pre-cut lenses from the factories. 2017, this is the number of frame models and revenue we got from those frame models after we started manufacturing in Portland. We'll do, our business is very seasonal. So at peak, we'll do about 2,000 pairs a day out of our facility down here. We're now in the Pearl. We have a new machine coming in March, which will then have 5 machines running. That's not all of our product. So we still make about 35% of our product at 3 factories over in Asia. And that's just different capabilities, different turn rate, things like that. So it's more of a hybrid model. But by the end of 2027, we should be doing about 80% of our last mile manufacturing down here. We have 127,000 products now. Again, most of those are made on demand. We can cut a set of lenses every 20 to 30 seconds on these machines. And we're in the process now of working on automating packaging and kind of working up and down the line and how we can make things more efficient. So, Dave, how much time do I have? Am I at time?
Yeah, go.
Okay. Great e-commerce. We win a lot of awards. I only highlight that because we actually have won 2 Manufacturer of the Year awards for all of Oregon, which is huge. We have a big manufacturing base here, a really, really experienced and talented one. customer service, things like that. And it's just a good barometer more so for the team and I on like, all right, we're doing well in these areas, customer service, manufacturing, and then creating a great workplace. I'll just talk about our future so I don't talk for another hour. I mentioned it earlier, but building out that ecosystem of product with lenses at the center. So what that capability allows us to do is we can bring in any frame, we can bring in any goggle, prescription frame, and make lenses on demand for that frame. So typically when you go to a brand, you see fixed like black frame with red lens, black frame with green lens. You get to choose from this limited assortment. With us, you'll be able to get any lens you need or want, and we'll direct you to the right one using technology, again, based on what you do, if you need prescription or not. Goggles, prescription eyewear, sunglasses, and we're also going to build this closed loop system called Revant Renew, where when you're done, when you need a new frame because style has gone bad or you need a new prescription, send those back in for a store credit, and you can credit that towards the new product. We'll tell you, all right, if you need a new prescription, here you go, here's the free reading, here's what you need now. Be able to bundle all of that. But this idea that the material itself is valuable, we can take that back and remold it at this point. So it's now building out the infrastructure to do that efficiently enough to make it profitable. But my long-term hope is that we have like eyewear hubs all over the country that take material back, reprocess it to make new frames, new goggles, whatever you need. And everything is made locally out of materials that are sourced locally. And I think we can do that profitably at scale. So that's what we're working on now. But we have the capability and some of the IP to really kind of go countrywide now. And I was talking to Dave earlier, we're working on some acquisition right now, just some acquisition of key competitors to make that happen as well. So yeah, Q&A?
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
I feel like I have to come up and do this.
Oh, wow, you're looking good. Yeah, go for it.
There it
Do
is.
that together. Yeah.
Cool. Jason is amazing. Like I said, you've been in town grinding since 2017, I think is when you were kind of first cresting and hitting all that.
Yep.
And it's been great. So it's great to hear all the insight. As I was listening to your story, I heard just a lot of benchmarks about, scrappy, don't know what you're doing, did it anyway, type of stuff. Walk me back to those first kind of decisions, because it's not easy. How do you make those jumps?
Yeah. I think early on it was just a little bit of blind entrepreneurial optimism. I think it's very much like you have to believe in what you're doing. And I was motivated because I wanted new lenses. I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So if you can find something that you actually care about, and then the other piece for me was when I first went to China, it was like, this is what I want to do. I want to travel. I want to meet people doing interesting things. I want to see how things are made. For me, it was consumer product and just manufacturing. It blew my mind. And that was one of the first times in a long time where I was like, I get a spine tingle when I'm like, this is great. I love this. I don't know what it is. It's more of a chemical reaction. And so I had that there constantly. And I was like, these are my people. And then when I got here and met with OMEP and started to see there's a lot of other manufacturers here doing things like this, and going to Vision Expo and getting more involved with the vision community and just seeing how it all worked, very motivating. Yeah.
And you had the early test, right? Where we sold out in 48 hours?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, it was very.
Yeah. I think that's the other thing that I talk to so many entrepreneurs. We say cart before the horse, right?
Yeah.
Is they have the same problem, the same passion about fixing something, but they haven't tested that it's out there in the world, that anybody wants it.
Yep.
You find that a lot with you see a lot of entrepreneurs now and talk to them now.
Yeah. I think I started my company around the same time as 4 other friends did. So we kind of went on this journey together. And what I saw with them, and sometimes see with just early stage, is when you have a success with one product, you assume that you can do it, replicate it across multiple products. Yeah. So to kind of answer the question, I think there's a fallacy in okay, we have traction. Now let's rapidly expand into other product categories. When the reality is you can go so much deeper in almost every product category. You just get bored if you're an entrepreneur. That's the reality of it. You have the ego, which you mentioned earlier, which is like, for me, it was, I want to beat Oakley. I want to out Oakley. And that was a good driver at the beginning, but then I made some nearly fatal mistakes that we didn't have time to talk about here because of that drive, and then it shifted for me into what we are now.
Was part of that putting a team around you?
Oh yeah. Having some guardrails in the form of a team and process, and I think just some hard like personal work. To be honest, if you grow your own brand, it's an extension of your ego, and if you're not in the right place, then your brand can't be. So there's a interesting realization there as you grow and scale, and you get more people around that can point that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally was thinking about it. The reason when I put that slide together, that ego thing is, it's just this dual that we ask them. We ask them to be confident and and have all the answers and everything else, which feeds that ego.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you got to be able to tell them no and have somebody listen.
Right.
Because if you shut all that off, you mentioned curiosity being key, and I think it really is, and I don't think people think about that.
No, and it's okay. I think I didn't realize this till 5 years ago, so pretty far into the journey. There's all these archetypes of leadership, right? That you're kind of like, all right, they're an Inc. 500, they're blah, blah, blah. And you try and orient around what you think you should be. But when you start to embody what you are, like Ryan Holiday is a modern day stoic, right? A leader through sort of how he moves, how he talks. That's a great leader, and we're lacking a lot of that right now. So I would say, even if you're like, this isn't leadership in the current form of what's out there as leadership, that's the next form of leadership, right? Is think about equal and opposite. That applies to leadership as well. If you're able to embody this idea of, I'm going to be myself. Myself is a little like pinball-y when it comes to new and exciting. My company needs that. But not to the degree I would bring it without sort of the guardrails around what I do. So
It's the exact definition of a loose cannon.
it is.
Sort of. Like, I don't know. I always look for, when I'm writing a check or when I'm looking at it to work with an early stage founder, I want somebody that has the ability to swing back and forth between arrogance and humility. Because you need both. Like, there's times where it's a crazy idea if you're going up against Oakley, right? You need to be arrogant. That's insane,
From your
right?
apartment.
Yeah, and then you need to be humble enough to know when it's time to pivot, when it's time to bring in people.
We even had acronyms on our first machine that said essentially beat Oakley. Like, no one knew what it meant. But early on, I will say this, Oakley started out of a garage. Yes. All of these big brands start with usually one or two people in like an apartment or a garage. And early on, when you look at them, you're like, how do you even, art of war, like, where do you find an angle in? The reality is they move incredibly slow. They're built on bureaucracy and guarding budgets. That, to me, if I ever am building a brand where people are guarding budgets, which means they just spend money so they get it next year. They don't think about deployment of it and efficiency and all that. I will shut down the company until we reset. Because I think that's the killer of culture. That's the killer of innovation. That's the killer of speed and entrepreneurship. And that's where the excitement is for me.
So, I mean, in some ways, you're a classic kind of, there's a something that you wanted personally that didn't exist in the marketplace, so you created it, right? So, and then I see that you have, like, I think 6 personas of your ideal customer now, client. Does your original, persona fit one of your current archetype now, or
like when I started?
You wanted frugality, you wanted to repair, not toss.
It's a good question. That through line is still the core customer, and so even when we move beyond replacement lenses, it's always value. It has to have a cost-related value proposition. We're not Oakley, and we're not going to come out with a $5,000 frame made of gold with Swarovski crystals on it. One, because of the cost-related value proposition. 2, it needs to be repairable. 3, it needs to use responsible materials. So that though was a change from maybe back when I started. I may have developed the Swarovski crystal frame, and now that core customer is have a clear picture of who they
Your
are.
bling bling rap days, I think, are over.
They are, it died with, yeah.
You see him walking around with the pimp cup. He's got it all.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, your customers evolve just like you do. So it's not a static, we know them, we're done, thanks, I'll talk to you in 10 years. We're constantly, the reason we throw events is to bring our customer in so we can hang out with them. Right. It's dual purpose, get them excited about the brand, but we're also like interacting and asking questions.
And learning, right?
Constantly. That's why we throw events, is to learn. They're here to like party and, oh, here's the new product. What do you think about it? Like, they don't expect to see the new product. We'll bring them into the like innovation space in our building. And you guys want to see how frames are 3D printed? Oh, we can do this and make it out of this material. And they walk away with their minds blown. We walk away with a lot of new insight into like, well, when we start 3D printing frames to fit your face perfectly, does our core consumer respond positively to that in person? Do they like to see the process? Those sorts of things. So, yeah, all of it's learning.
Yeah, it seems, and especially you're in hard tech, right? I mean, a lot of these guys are building software where the investment is time, blood, sweat, tears, not physical hard cost and waste and things like that.
Yep.
How are you employing tech? You mentioned some of the technology that's coming on. Are you advocating for that? Are you developing on some of that?
Yeah. I like to think we're our own, like, in a way, a little bit of our own regulatory body, in that we're not moving, I would say, as fast as most brands in terms of adoption and sort of bring it all in. I was talking to someone earlier about this. You have to, in order to create stability within an organization, you have to have like a roadmap. And if you're trying all the new tech that's coming out, you just disintegrate any sort of traction that you get. So we actually have a process for anyone in the company can bring a new idea for creating a better customer experience, technology, product. We have that team at the center of the brand that those ideas go to. And then quarterly, we're evaluating whether or not we should reset our roadmap to address those. With tech, we're integrating just some specific examples. We're using Hex, H-E-X, which is a data AI. Basically, we're connecting all of our ERP. We use NetSuite for order management. That's basically the backbone of how we run the business from production to shipping. Google Ads, everything's going to Hex. And Hex is now pretty much in real time displaying data on how the company's performing, helping us with inventory orders based on sales trends. And when you have 120,000 products, you have to use technology to like optimize inventory. And do we ship it to our warehouse in Europe, or everything needs to be optimized pretty constantly. So that's the exciting thing for us, is we can see things in real time now that used to take days, weeks to get insights into.
Yeah, interesting.
The other point I want to make with the tech crowd, tech and eyewear are merging, literally and strategically. And so the form factor of your computer, your phone, again, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, the stated goal of most tech brands is to go into your frame and eventually your contact lens or a contact lens. So we are seeing a lot of interest in what we're doing. We're doing some joint ventures and things like that because of that merger. So it's going to be a catalyst for our industry in a big way.
We're early stages, but we're talking about it even that seeing the merging of, certainly where AI is going, but down into hard tech, right? And being here at the VIC, it is light industrial. We're talking about that incubator that people can get prototypes out and things like that. Because I see it's happening.
It's happening. And that's the HP 3D printing basement we went into a few years ago is, the future of eyewear too is 3D printing out of materials sourced locally to fit your head perfectly. Because right now every frame is a set width and pupillary distance of the lens. So you actually can't really get perfect optics because of that. But when you can 3D print on demand based on your face shape, pupillary distance, bridge, that frame is made to provide perfect optics. So that's coming down the line too. And again, the merger of technology and hardware to make that happen is essential.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you said it, because I have different eyeglasses and I've got multiple pairs, and a lot of my friends, they're like, "Oh, when you're in Japan, you always go get frames that are cheaper. There's they don't fit my big coconut. So so they're all very standardized.
Yeah, they're standardized. And with that, you have obsolete inventory too. So
Sure.
we talked to one of the big fashion houses in Italy about 6 months ago. They reached out and said, we have a huge problem. Yeah, you do, for a number of reasons. But the Italian government had passed anti-dumping laws, which means you cannot smash, throw out, get rid of product that's no longer in fashion. And this is what fashion houses do every single quarter, right? Is millions.
Literally box cut like
Yep.
$3,000 handbags and throw them in the dumpster.
Yeah. There's big burn pits, things like this. So again, I don't like to highlight the negative, but I do because that's where the solutions are too. It's a problem to solve. It's not something to be ashamed of and run away from. It is something to be ashamed of, but not run away from. And he held up his laptop speaking to me in Italian. We have a huge problem. And over his shoulder, there were 16 containers. He's like, these are full of Gucci, I can't give away the name, sorry. They're full of eyewear that we can no longer sell and we can no longer dump. We need you to reprocess this for us, or we need some sort of solution here. So I think a lot of people talk about, I don't want to use the word sustainability because that's kind of a loaded word for people, but the material side of things and saying we need to figure out processes for deriving value from that, that's going to come from technology and efficiency unlocked by technology. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's just who figures it out first.
I didn't mean to shut questions down at all. I want to open back up again, but I think you had one originally. We can jump back in.
You kind of covered it, and I can kind of imagine now after what you said earlier, but when you had to shut down for 6 months, like, what was the messaging out to your customers, and like how did you make sure that you bridged that trust so that they would be there again when you were back online?
Yeah. So it was right around Valentine's Day, and I remember this because I was like, man, how do we say this to our customers? And
We love you. Goodbye.
It's not you, it's us.
it was literally that. Like, I have a love of manufacturing, and this drove me to do this faster than I should have. Here's what happened. Here's why. And there's a picture. I don't often take selfies, but of me like pulling down the air lines in our factory because they're full of water. And we sent this out to all of our customers and said, here's what's happened. And we are committed to quality above almost anything else, because that, you need to get the value for your money. So if you get a product that doesn't fit, if you get a product that you don't like, this is our warranty, but I want to reiterate it because we've had issues lately with product we're making here. Here's the problem. Here's what we're doing to fix it. Here's the timeline you can expect an even better product to come out from Revant. And we delivered on that. And I posted frequent updates, and those were some of our best, most engaged content in the history of the company. Wow. And there's other examples of that where, call it build better is the mentality internally, because at the end of the day, a business is just continually solving problems. And so you can either hide the problems or you can elevate them, be smart about it. But hey, here's what we're trying to solve. Bring the customer into that journey. A brand called Dust Moto out of Bend, Oregon has done that almost better than anyone I've ever seen from the jump. So when they launched their brand, they started with, hey, we're going to be completely transparent on the development process problems, overheating of our electric motor. This is a electric motorcycle, motocross bike they built completely from the ground up.
Ryan Moore built Ryanette, so the screen printing equipment.
Yep.
Phenomenal company up here. He was talking about the customer journey, and everybody would kind of use the customer journey as an external facing. He said, no, you're on the journey with the customer.
Yes.
Throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
It's kind of reset the way the company works too.
Yeah. And you're gonna have like moments where it's kind of nerve-wracking to put yourself out there like that. Our entire frame line launch, like leading up to it, was me talking. We had segments on YouTube of me talking about the failures of Revant. So our GTM was actually, here's what we learned and why these are so good from those learnings, right? Other brands might just say, here's a new frame, enjoy, here's what it's capable of. But here are the 10 years of development and material testing through pain and investment that we've gone through to bring this frame to market for you. Very different story, right? When you understand. That's kind of why in the Olympics, they highlight individual athletes and tell you he grew up in da da da, and then did this, and then dropped out, and now is a skater that is winning a gold. You know, you get emotionally invested in those stories. That's why they do that. So as a brand, if you can do that effectively, you'll get your core and grow from there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking from experience, trying to do business in the city of Portland,
Yep.
it's a total nightmare. So if you have to be in Oregon, why not like Bucks County, Washington County?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I like living a nightmare. It's
Say, has that ever been your experience? I don't know.
yeah. I mean,
Remember your prior state are keeping it positive.
yeah. No. I mean, I'm not gonna. I never sugarcoat it. I think that's why politicians in Portland listen to me to a degree, because you sugarcoat it, you're inauthentic, you lose trust, right? So I mean, it's hard to explain other than I believe the grass is greener where you water it. And so I believe community comes from staying power. And community to me is, and this is why I don't have investors in part, I will lose money a little bit to stay committed to community, but I think actually in the long run, that's what builds business and builds like loyalty and trust. I may be wrong. You'd be like, you should have gone to Clackamas, but
It seems like Port doesn't really want business. They're doing everything they can to get businesses out of
it would appear that way. Yeah. So I am also, I don't back down from a fight either. And this is not like a physical fight. This is actually elevating that exact thing. Why say this and do this? Why say that and do these things are incongruent? So, and I will say that I call it connective tissue is forming between the public and private sector. And by the very nature of politics, they have a limited run to be the boss. And you have to kind of work further downstream to find people and individuals that understand that business is the backbone of a strong community, especially one that's as progressive and likes to experiment like Portland with progressive policy for kids, for drug addicts, okay, I believe in that, that's why I'm there. I will fund that if I am getting a return on that investment, which I'm not right now. So we need to figure out why not, like we would a business, right? Maybe we need to shut down for 6 months and reset. So anyway, I don't know if that answers the question, but
true.
yeah.
Speaking about believing in the product, I'm a customer several times over. I have a
Thank you.
pair of sideliners that owe their life to you. But going back to your love for manufacturing,
Yeah.
when looking towards manufacturing partners over in Asia, are there any highlights or red flags you bring up or recommend to us?
Yeah. In terms of sort of finding partners, or once you found them, like what?
You got multiple connections reaching back out to you, and you went over for a month to evaluate.
Yeah.
What were the red flags or the signs you're like?
Good question.
This is
Yeah.
a person that makes it to the next round of evaluation.
Yes. So I'll say going over there was even like I was driven to do that because I had read a lot about outsourced manufacturing, which most of the manufacturing that was done here in the US was outsourced in the 80s, right? And so you have these stories of even local brands using outsourced labor that they shouldn't be using. And that was resonating in the back of my mind as I was starting to think about building this company. And I internally, for my value set, was like, I am not willing to even risk that there is child labor involved, or that there are factories I'm working with that are not treating employees correctly. That was part of the reason I went over there, to actually walk the floor, meet the factory owners, talk to them about code of conduct and things that, like, if I don't see it, I shouldn't be sourcing it. That's my belief, because at the end of the day, you are the brand, and you're representing that whatever you're putting out there, service, product, people you hire, you have vetted that and you believe in it. That's why you're selling it to someone for their hard-earned money. So with factories, it was, are you environmental, ethical? Like, do you adhere to a code of conduct, and is that regularly audited? We use auditing firms to do that. Then what capabilities do you have? What customers do you have? What capacity? We outran our first factory's capacity and they didn't tell us. It's always good to think ahead. And then how collaborative are you? And in the recent issue with tariffs, which is a tax on US business, we have had our partners overseas actually cut costs to help us absorb some of those tariff costs. For us, those tariff costs last year were $600,000 in unbudgeted expense that we paid directly to the government. That's money that would have gone into machinery, hiring, product development, the local community. So you find partners like that that really will come both ways and proactively do that. Spirit of innovation, I look for that. So we use their R&D teams to develop new tints, new frames, they bring us the materials. So this bio-based plastic they brought to us, it's actually from the automotive industry. And treat them like your team, truly. Like most factories are used to leverage and being sort of told what to do. When I say factories, the people that run the factories we get our product from are used to a form of, this is intense, but kind of abuse. Get me the product, get it next week at this
paying
price.
you do what I say. type of-
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's how they're wired. Now, if you can break down that by showing up, I give gifts to every factory person I work with. I give them a banner to put up in their production floor. And then we give regular updates. Chinese New Year, we always acknowledge that. Like those little things that factory owners typically do for us, when you do that, you have a true partner. And it's a competitive advantage like I can't emphasize enough. So
I'm blanking on the name, but last year it made like the Wall Street Journal's best reads or something. There was a book about Apple's supply chain.
yeah,
And talking about abuse of like,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
manufacturers, like
Yeah.
it is alive and well in,
Mhm.
in that book. Like it was
Yeah.
like, wow, they were treated like crap.
yeah. And you know, when you get into those monolithic organizations that don't allow you to repair your product, like the values kind of come out in different ways. So, you know, you see they're able through PR and other ways to kind of create a atmosphere of, oh, everything's fine, don't look here. The reality is most of those companies are not living up to their values or don't have them, right? Or you're Google and you change your your mission or OpenAI, you know. So again, as leaders and as current and future leaders, if you can ground yourself in what's best for humanity or people, planet, and profit, it's okay to value those three things. You can be a stoic and have an ego, and it's okay to be, actually all of us are a mismatch of those sorts of things. You're the future of leadership. And so the further you can go, the more you can kind of mine those three things together, not just profit, which is usually when you're a public company, you have a fiduciary duty to maximize profit, which puts the other things sort of in the rear view. And it's hard to do when you're early on. So I'll say that too. Like I'm not saying right away I care deeply about the planet. That's hard to do. You do need to make profit. We're a capitalist society. But as you get some breathing room and get to think about like further out longevity, what do you want to stand for? If you have kids or you care about kids, what do you want them to grow up? And that all matters. And it might mean you grow a little less, but you feel a little better about yourself. So, yes.
Did you go back to school?
In a way.
Hard knocks beat MBA.
Yeah. I would say, you know, over the course of, since I started Revant, I did not go back to actual school. I have taken online courses in areas where I feel like I'm like AI. You know, I took the Anthropic courses because I'm like, I love talking to this thing, kind of, but how do I actually harness it and create our own internal regulations around how we use it, what data we put into it? Well, I need to understand it. So when things like that come up, I will like look for the best course I can find that fits into my schedule and invest in my own learning. I think that's the best thing you can do for yourself. Yeah.
And then I had a question about the IP, because I would think that Oakley would have IP on their product. How do you not get sued or in trouble with them?
They don't know
They
yet.
copy you.
So don't tell anyone. Turn the cameras off. Yeah.
Because my husband buys your glasses and they have little lenses in the cases.
Yep.
Now. Eventually copied, but originally
Yeah.
they didn't offer that product. But then, so how did you not get sued?
Yeah, John, I'll give you a discount on new lenses. This is the husband, is that?
Yeah.
Okay,
He
cool.
already bought your other.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So early on, you know, I think I told you I worked at the courthouse, and so I was for 3 years immersed in legal. I was planning to go to law school. So knew the lay of the land, family law, juvenile law, got some business law in there. And so I knew where to look to see like, well, where are their patents and what coverage do they have? I actually got sued by Oakley for $3 million, by the way. That's another story. Yeah, for my other brand. There's another brand.
Just because of O.
The Organo, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I research.
You do. You did deep research. I had a brand that made licensed eyewear for 80 universities, the MLS and NBA. Sold that 5 years ago. But when I started putting the Organo, I had licensing rights. I paid for it. After a year and a half of selling those products to students, tens of thousands of pairs, Oakley sent me basically a lawsuit that I won eventually. Well, no, I had to settle, but it worked out okay. So back to the patent question. So patents, if you can identify a product, there's a few different tests for patents. One is, does it make up the form of the product? So is it a unique shape? And for most frames, if I were to pop the lens out of his frame and show you, you'd be like, I don't know if that's Oakley, Ray-Ban, whatever. It doesn't actually make up the shape of the frame. The frame makes up the shape of the frame. So it's not patentable, essentially. Unless there's a unique technology within the lens or lens dye, then we can't go after that. But found a loophole, yeah. And then right to repair, again, because I do think that should be for every product. We shouldn't have these laptops. You can't personally take a battery out of and put a new one in. It's a problem. That it was actually a hero's journey. So finding other areas where there is right to repair that is not being serviced is massive. I'm going to put that out to this group in particular, because when that laptop battery gets down to 60%, or your phone, we've all been there, Apple will replace the battery, but you have to find the buried page because of right to repair. So if you're able to find a way to do that efficiently and effectively across any product out there, there's a lot of business opportunity.
Did you see that movie? They did a documentary on the right to repair.
They did, yeah.
Buy Now, I think it's called.
Buy Now. Eric Ludke from Under Armour, actually from Adidas. He lives in Portland. He built a brand called Unless. It's made of decomposable, or the clothes are decompostable. He was the president of Adidas when they brought in Beyonce and I want to call him Yeezy. Kanye West.
Yeah.
So he's featured in that documentary, and we've spoken on a few panels together. And if you haven't watched it, it's very dramatic.
It's on Netflix, I think, or was at one point.
But it'll give you a sense for the scale of what's happening and the magnitude of impact it's having. And hopefully that sparks ideas for business models, because it's all waste, it's all material value, and it's a hero's journey if you lessen waste. That sounds ridiculous, but it's very much what we need to be doing right now. John?
In the panels, I've seen your name a lot more in the business.
Yeah.
Might have been talking more about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a function of time and being consistent. I think early on, because we manufactured, I did my own PR. I would just email every, Oregonian, everyone I could think of, hey, I'm doing this, I think it's interesting. I didn't know how to do PR. But someone at the Business Journal said, we think it's interesting too, can we come by? And then we had a discussion like this, and we just formed a relationship. You'll hear that a lot in sort of how I talk, is that everything's interpersonal relationships. And so with that reporter, I just said, hey, do you mind, as we're kind of like building the brand here and things are changing, can I send you updates? And if they're interesting, publish them. If they're not, don't worry about it. And that's built into a very positive relationship, and it's mutually beneficial. I think now that I've gotten more involved on the political side of things and trying to connect everyone in the business community to the political world, that's helped a lot too.
That's how you keep a 1% marketing budget too.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you get it's good for the brand, because we're I got what is it? CNN. I did a live segment with CNN a month ago on tariffs and manufacturing in the U.S. And they had seen an article in the Portland Business Journal, and they wanted to talk to business owners, specifically manufacturers that were trying to build, and we're building American manufacturing. How is this helping or hurting you? So I think once you get into what do each of these publications care about? Maybe even the individual reporter, what are they looking into, and what is a good story for them? You can feed, okay, we're doing this, I think you'd like this, or your audience would. And in that way, again, you're giving to them, you're making it easy for them to like, oh yeah, obviously we'd want to cover this. So, but yeah,
So this is mostly you giving back to with this
it's a lot of me like, truthfully, a lot of print publications don't have the staff anymore or the time to do like deep investigative journalism or so I try and keep that going and keep the community updated on what Revant's doing. Yeah.
So if you don't like your foundational
Well,
story, they got a whole list of things.
I want to make sure we give everybody a chance too.
I just had one question. I think startups is kind of a young man's game in an audience of older people. That's probably hard to hear, but you have nothing to lose, and it's really easy to gamble.
Yeah.
You've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You don't have a wife, you don't have kids, you don't have a house.
Yeah.
Payments, making stuff. Do you have any advice for older entrepreneurs to get through those?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think I would zoom out and say I had nothing to lose, but I knew no one and knew nothing. Whereas when you're older, you have connections and you can come to events like this and you have more at your disposal. You have more, hopefully, more, I was, again, $40,000 to $50,000 in debt living out of an apartment with a $300 laptop. So I would say I didn't have the resources to be as successful as the average successful entrepreneur starts at, I think, 41 to 51 now. So when you look at success in entrepreneurship, it's actually the 41 to 51 age range that is the most successful. That's when they start. It's much harder to start as a child, basically, and build something of meaning because you're stumbling your way through and you don't have the connections or resources. The reason, back to the Portland question, I think that was you, when I first came to Portland, Nike executives met with me. I was like a $800,000 business. And I just emailed a few friends and said, hey, I'm trying to find people in Nike and Adidas to help me figure out how to build a business. The Nike's first attorney met with me on campus at Nike and spent 2 hours with me. That you don't get that in other cities. So that's part of the reason I stay is because they invested in me early on, and it's a small pond. So you can get access to the world's best consumer product company executives there. They all retire there too, or down in Terrebonne or Bend, so they're local. Good question. Yeah.
I really liked your perspective as to once you're successful, you can really go deep instead of trying to recreate the wheel.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just a quick question, but I had to have a scuba mask sent out and have little readers put in.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
your company? Have you done that?
Probably not. We've done that, but it's not been public. So yeah, it's been for a different group of people, JV. Yeah, but not yeah. But that is something, AR, VR, scuba, everything that needs a lens that you look through, we've probably worked on. Thank you. Yeah.
Give them 6 months.
Yeah.
Squirrel.
We just added a new manufacturing partner out of Taiwan about a year ago that it's like 10 times the size of our last one, and their capabilities span everything. So it's a fun time. And that's the other thing I'd say. When you're early on, you get a very limited set of partners willing to work with you because you're tiny and maybe the economic incentive for them isn't there.
You're a rounding error for them.
You're a rounding error, exactly. But as you start to build unit volume, revenue, all those things, you get more PR. You actually attract bigger, better, more capable partners. So it's another competitive advantage. Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about your storefront, your brick and mortar.
Yeah.
A lot of really interesting metrics there, like your cost of the acquisition goes up.
Yeah.
There's marketing through sales. But the metric that I'm most interested in is understanding the online offline. So like Best Buy has the product out there where I go to educate with tires.
Yeah.
And then I go online and I buy it at the best price.
Right.
All the features, etc.
Yeah.
But it's research. So they have to have some way that they're measuring their online, offline. How do you experience problems with that? People just come in and kick lenses, essentially.
It's called showrooming for
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you measure that
Yeah.
compared to sales?
Yeah, so we love to start things and shut them down. That retail shop was in our old building. We use that as a sandbox. Where the future side is retail hubs with lens edging equipment in the back in key markets, and so we got a lot of insight from that retail shop. And one way we defend against showrooming in an omni-channel environment is we're the only one that sells our product. So no one else sells Revant product right now. That was an intentional decision to avoid what a lot of brands, and even my licensed eyewear brand experience, because we're 80% B2B retail, university stores, Dick's, all these retail shops, Amazon, is that you get into a war with yourself in a way. It's hard to do because retail is scale usually, but the pricing pressure that comes from B2B and competitive pressure is enormous. So we're trying to avoid that and stay totally vertical. And maybe we're going to do a few like key partner pop-up shops, but managing the product well, managing pricing because we own all of it and we sell all of it has been key. And then what we found is the customers that come into the store and experience the brand in a physical retail setting, meet our customers, were 3 times more valuable over the course of 5 years.
Oh, interesting.
So, and just through working with my mentor Bryce at Evo, when you drop a retail location into a city like they did here in Portland, you see online sales go up 20 to 30% in that location because of the presence, the brand. So, as much as we talk about direct-to-consumer, that's kind of died down now with all the direct-to-consumer brands going bankrupt. There is space, and actually I think a mandate for brands to figure out how they show up in terms of physical space. And it doesn't have to be this big, huge investment. It could be pop-ups. It could be events. It could be, Yeah, but that's a huge advantage right now. If you can do that effectively, you'll see a bump in sales, brand loyalty, repeat purchase rate, and it gives you a better chance for increasing your AOV, average order value. You're using terms, so I'm going to use a few more with you. Because when you're in there having this interaction, it's like, all right, Drew, your eye color, I can brown, right? Yeah. So your light receptors, you can accept more light into your eyes. You probably want you can use a lighter tint lens if you want. Do you like hiking, Drew? Are you a hiker in the gorge? All right, it's winter, you got overcast. So I'm going to recommend this lens, but then in 3 months, you're probably going to want this one as it gets brighter, right? How do I do that online? We're trying to figure it out, but it's tough to do. So there's a lot of advantages of each, but I think managing costs well, having like tests, like, hey, we're rolling this out to achieve this. If it doesn't, use that two-way door concept. You better have a way to back out because retail is expensive. And then as you iterate and test, get better, more efficient, and use that as a strategic advantage and a brand experience.
We'll do this the last one, and then we'll.
Yeah, hat in the back, my friend.
I'm giving you an opportunity to repeat the mantra of people, planet, profit. Have you folks been thinking or debating getting into the B Corp space at all? That's very much in their alignment.
Yeah, we actually applied, and it's an interesting. Is anyone here involved in B Corp? What do you do at B Corp?
I work for B Corp.
You work for B Corp. Okay, all right.
Portland has a pretty big B Corp.
They do,
Yep.
yeah, and it makes sense, right?
Yep.
I think Portland is the intersection of sustainability, product, and technology. I think that's what we should own as a city. So we went through the B Corp process. I think we were a few points shy, and this was 2 years ago, in part because we couldn't show enough improvement opportunity, was my understanding, because we were already running at a very efficient clip. And so we put a pause on that, and we reinvested some of those dollars into other areas of efficiency. And anyway, I think B Corp is very important. I kind of go back and forth on the amount of money that goes into it and the requirements really aligning with people, profit, and planet in the way that we kind of define it. So I'm open to a further discussion about that, but I think there are other brands that feel a little similarly. Overall, I think it's very beneficial. For us at the time, didn't seem like, based on the whole process and then not getting accepted and what we would have to do didn't seem like the best priority.
Seems also there's
Yeah. And again, I think on the whole, back to the like we're all a mashup of different values, and like B Corp on the whole is fantastic. I've never heard brands, people, business executives talk about sustainability in such a positive way. Overall, been fantastic for product and business. Yeah.
It's great to hear you kind of talk about that process. I think B Corp would be a lot. We've done it with 2 companies.
Yeah.
I've been really impressed on your ability to do what other businesses have kind of badged themselves with about building in the States around having a triple bottom line point of view. Do you attribute that more to your decisions about how you grow and where the funds come from, how you grow, or just the luck of not trying to do that later, like a bunch of Pacific Northwest businesses have done? Where it's like, hey, let's figure out how we can reshore.
Yeah.
What was the key for you?
So I think it's a little bit of a mix. I mean, I was indoctrinated from a young age with make your own product. My dad was heavily invested in manufacturing, and we're just like, we kind of glean from our parents what they value in a number of different ways, and he was always talking about it, always bringing me into his production lines. And when I was older, he spent 30% of his time in China. So ironic story, the 3rd time I went to China, I was texting with my dad, and he's like, oh, I'm in Xiamen too. We were like 10 blocks away and didn't know it. So, and it's a pretty big country, a lot of people. So, it was just this indescribable drive to make it happen for him, which was interesting early on. And then as I got into it, I found I loved it. And I was like, oh, this is just the mechanics of it, making product and be able to show people this is how product is made. So then I got the financial discipline to figure out how to do it. That was like, 9 years ago now? It's like, all right, this is how you financially model out manufacturing and efficiencies at scale. And you can use, what's it called? Economies of scale, where you're like, if you go from ordering 10,000 lenses to 100,000 because you can cut them, that inventory is versatile now, you can drive down your cost 30% at the manufacturer. So you have all these different levers you can pull when you're manufacturing here. I was able to model out like, okay, we can make a profit and almost find parity with China now on our overall cost per unit, which is wild, just based on efficiency. So it kind of, I was irrationally invested in it just because it was core to who I am, and then it became like, this will work. Then I figured out how to do it, and now I am a staunch advocate for how we do it at scale, like across all industry. And the way we're going about it now is a little backwards. So, yeah, but we can all do it, by the way. It just requires a 10 to 15-year view and investments in education. And there's a whole playbook for how to do this, but we've started with the last step. Not
Jake?
We, the administration. So, but tariffs are sort of the last thing you should do, by the way, from people that know how to onshore me.
I check my $2,000 check every day in my mailbox. I haven't seen it yet. My $2,000 check is supposed to be there.
We're ending?
Perfect. Yeah.
Thank you all. I'm going to just,
Yeah.
This means a lot. As I mentioned, being in person, showing up, asking questions, which you all did a lot of. I really appreciate it. It makes it more interesting for me too. So thank you. It's great to be back in Vancouver, and you made it very beneficial for me. So yeah.
Round of applause.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. It was wonderful.
Okay.